Hello, this is Patrick with Urban Carry Holsters, and today we're going to be showing you how to field strip and properly clean your Ruger LCR. This 5-shot revolver is an extremely unique design. Most of it's made from polymer. In fact, the only parts that are steel or aluminum are the barrel, the cylinder, and the crane. This firearm comes in 3 different calibers: 38 Special, 357 mag, and 9mm. We're going to pass this along to Chase for the full cleaning.
I'm going to show you how to strip down and clean your Ruger LCR. I'm actually going to take it down a little further than just a standard field strip. Literally a field strip, you don't really field strip a revolver. You just you bring your cylinder out, make sure of course there's no ammo inside, okay? And then you clean out your cylinder holes where your rounds go, and then you clean out your barrel. But we're going to do a little bit more of an extensive work with this gun. So what you're going to need is a hex wrench, okay? One that fits, okay? There's this screw here, right here on the crane, and then also this screw right up on the top of the frame. First thing we're gonna do is take off this screw. Okay, what this is gonna do is gonna allow you to take out your cylinder. Okay, so of course, cylinder release, and I can just take that right off. Okay, second thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove this screw. Now, while doing this, there's a little washer over here. Okay, it's a little, actually not a washer, but a nut. And just be careful. Make sure you do this over, a padded area, because this thing will roll out. And actually, if you watch, see how that just fell out? Okay. So just be careful when you're taking apart this screw. All right, but just make sure you don't lose that little nut, and then go ahead and press the screw from the other side. Now, make sure, see how I'm holding my fingers? I'm holding the frame into the handle, okay? Because this is on like a spring. And once this screw comes out, it's gonna wanna jump forward. Now, the next step you're gonna do is see how the top frame starts to come off. Okay, now before you actually take it all the way off, you need to push this pin through, okay? Right when you start taking it out, it's the front pin. It's just underneath. I don't know if you can see it, but what I use is basically just a punch, okay? Actually, I need a little bit smaller of a punch, but just go ahead and push that pin through. As you can see, it fell right out. And a lot of just little parts, just want to make sure that you keep track of all of them. But that's going to allow your cylinder lock to come out as well, because you don't want to, it's kind of hooked in there. But just slowly take off the top frame. Okay, and as you can see, here's that cylinder lock. And you can just take that out. And this has a little spring on it, all right? So make sure you don't lose that spring. But now, that's pretty much your Ruger LCR taken apart. Now, of course, you can take off the grips, you can get into the mainspring housing, start taking out the hammer, but we don't necessarily need to do that. We just want to make sure that we are able to clean in certain areas. But let's get this cleaning. So what I'm gonna do is I have actually 2 cleaning rods here. I have one with a 38 caliber brush, and I also have one with a lead with a little cleaning swab already attached to it. There's a couple of easy ways of getting gun cleaner into your gun. Here we use this Hoppe's Elite gun cleaner. Okay, it's actually a great product. It helps get rid of any kind of powder fouling, which is like unburnt powder or even some powder residue. And what this does is it helps break that down so that it's easier to get out of your gun. So we're going to put some of this in the cylinder and as well as our barrel, and then on certain places on the gun. But I'm going to use this lead, okay, to go ahead and get some gun cleaner everywhere. But something else I show in a lot of my cleaning videos is another easy way is just to take your brush and wrap your cleaning swab around it. And you can put cleaner on there, go into each one of the cylinder holes. Okay, it's very simple and it works really well. I'm just gonna kind of keep this one a little bit more simple since we're taking this gun apart a little bit more than you would do on a natural, just regular cleaning. But got some cleaning solvent on here, and I'm just going to go through each one of the cylinder holes to make sure that I get, some of that gun cleaner sitting in there. That way it can start breaking up all that powder fouling and dirt and whatever else is in here. I'm just gonna take a little bit more. And the other area you want to get is your barrel. Now, I would be very careful, okay? And actually, I would want to be using this cleaning rod, okay? Because this has this little bushing on here, this little cone. And what that does is it protects the crown, okay? Your crown is where the rifling ends in your barrel. And of course, if you nick it or scratch it up, it's gonna affect your accuracy. But again, I'm just going to use this brush, but I'm just going to be very careful. I'm going to make sure that I go straight in. Try not to touch the edges of your cleaning rod to the barrel. And just get some of that cleaning solution in there. Now, we're just going to address some of the other metal parts. And the easy way to do that is with one of these nylon brushes. For this gun, I would use one of these gun cleaning brushes. Of course, you can also use a toothbrush. They work the same. But there's a couple little areas in here that are just a little too small for, say, like this larger end of the brush or a toothbrush. So it might just be a good idea to go pick a couple of these up. Okay, they're relatively inexpensive and they work great. But I'm gonna go ahead and spray some of this gun cleaner on this brush and just get in some of the metal areas. I'm also gonna go around my force cone, okay, which is right up here. Just get some of that solvent on there. The face where your firing pin hole is, you can give that a little scrub. Okay, but again, not too much. Don't want to overdo it. I'm going to do the same thing with the handle of the gun, okay. Get some on this hammer, on the rotating bar. And that's literally all you'll really need to do. Now, of course, you want to have this gun cleaner sit inside your gun for a good 5 to 10 minutes. Of course, I'm not going to wait that long, especially since, for just the purpose of this video is just to show you how and what to use. But we're going to go ahead and start putting this gun back together. But before so, we're going to start wiping down the gun. Anywhere that we put some of that gun cleaner, and I'm just going to take one of my cleaning patches, make sure I just wipe everything off, and be careful because these little parts, they will come out, okay? So just be careful, all right? You don't want to, there's other videos on, showing you exactly where certain springs go or where bars go, but again, it's best just to kind of leave everything put. Again, just be gentle with it. All right, so now we're ready to start putting this thing back together. Oh, well actually first what I need to do is I need to scrub out my barrel. Again, this is why we do have the brush. And this is where I would definitely use this little cone, okay, to help protect the rifling. Okay, as you can see, I'm just kind of holding it on there. I'm holding the back of the gun. Now something else you should do is put your finger back here, all right? What that does is it helps when you do get the brush through, okay? You don't want to jam it into the back where your firing pin hole is. So it's just something to watch out for. You just want to be careful. I'm making sure that I use this cone. That way you don't disrupt that rifling. But now it's all scrubbed out. I'm going to get myself a new patch. I'm just going to wipe it on down. Again, you don't want to leave the cleaner inside of your gun for more than 10 minutes. Again, be very careful. You don't want to really disrupt that rifling. And it is best to get cleaning brushes such as this, which are brass. Okay, brass is a lot softer. And I was using a steel one, that's why I was being so careful of going in and out of the barrel. But just gonna wipe everything down again. Again, anywhere you put the cleaner. I guess that's really all I should say is anywhere that you put the cleaner, you want to make sure that you go and wipe it down. And then, also don't forget, you have this brush also for the cylinder. Okay, so just give that cylinder a nice little scrub out. And then wipe it on down. Now, of course, the cylinder doesn't have any rifling in it, so I'm kind of being a little faster with cleaning this. Okay, but it's still good just to be careful. Make sure you don't scratch it up too much, especially if you are using a steel rod like this one. As you can see, most of that is actually from the cylinder. So again, always important to clean your firearm. But everything is pretty much wiped down and scrubbed down. So we're just gonna go ahead and start putting this together. Now, just as a note, as you saw, I did not use any kind of oil while cleaning this gun. Oil I tend not to use because oil will actually attract more powder fouling and more dirt, and it kind of just seeps into that oil, and you're gonna end up having to clean your gun a whole lot more than you did the first time. There's really not too much that I would even oil on this gun. Maybe if I took this cylinder apart, I'd oil basically where the cylinder rotates, but you don't really need to do too much of that. Another point of somewhere to address is right up here towards the front of the cylinder, okay? This is where those gases come out when you do fire the round. So it is good to just take a nylon brush. It's something I actually almost forgot to do. But this is why, I mean, I'm sitting here with this gun over me, well, me over this gun, and I'm just, you know, using my eyes. I'm just going through everything, making sure that any place that, you know, I really should clean, that I do, of course. So just as I'm talking to you, I'm looking at everything else around the gun and making sure that it's clean. Okay, again, use your best judgment. But let's put this thing back together. So kind of before we took the pin out before we put the frame back on, but in this case what you're going to do is you're going to put your cylinder lock back in first. Okay, so as you can see, I'm putting the spring down. Okay, there's that little spring. That way this little hook is upwards. Okay, and then I'm going to find that pin, and this you can just usually push in with your fingers. Okay, another thing to note is this spring right here. This little part of the spring, you want to have this towards the back of the handle. But then just take the top of your frame, go in at an angle, and just hold it right in place. Again, as you see, that cylinder lock came through, but just hold that in place. And what I do is I go ahead and I insert my screw. That way it has a little bit of tension in there. And then there's that little nut, okay? Now, there's one side that has a hexagonal shape and the other side is just round. You want that hexagonal shape to go in first, okay? That's what helps grab on to the frame. Then, very carefully, I'm just going to switch hands, put my finger on that nut, and then go ahead and tighten your screw down. Which seems to be giving me a little bit of trouble. Okay, it's giving me a lot of trouble actually. So maybe this is something to note too, is you notice how I put the screw in first? You're going to put that nut in there first. Okay, then go ahead, hold down the frame again, go ahead and push in your screw. See, I'm learning too. Of course, there's always, once you start cleaning these guns more often, you learn the little tricks. And of course, you know, I'm relatively new to this firearm, so I'm still learning. But so yeah, as you can see, instead of putting the screw in first, I should have just put that nut in and then put the screw in and then tighten it down. But now that that's done, I just again, I'm gonna look over the firearm, anywhere that I forgot to wipe down. Just gonna make sure that I do. And this gun seems to be all ready and clean. So now we're just gonna reattach our cylinder. Okay, go ahead, insert it into the hole. Okay, there's a little slide area. I go ahead and I just push the cylinder in. That way, you know, it's just easier to handle. Then we got our screw. And once that screw's tightened down, your LCR is ready, clean, and ready to go back out to the range.
The Ruger LCR seems to be an easy carry for just about everyone. The sights are fixed, featuring a front blade sight and a rear sight that's cut into the frame. The pistol has three main modular components. First is the upper frame and barrel assembly. These are made from 7000 series aluminum to keep the weight low while strong enough to house the stainless steel barrel and fluted cylinder. Second is the cylinder and crane assembly, and third is the lower fire control housing. All of these are covered in polymer except for the cylinder. If you can believe it, this firearm actually features some titanium parts. The reason for this is that titanium has a lower inertia than stainless steel, and when fired, these components will actually move around a little bit slower, which helps keep the cylinder locked when fired. Ruger put a lot of thought and effort into this design, from the overall components to the internal geometry of the firearm. It's all in an effort to help reduce the trigger pull and reduce felt recoil. Of course, depending on what model you have, there's going to be different recoil, because this firearm comes in 3 different calibers: 38 Special, 357 mag, and 9mm. Another feature of this firearm that helps reduce the recoil is the Hogue grips. These feature an internal support cushion to help reduce the recoil as well. As an additional note, the Ruger LCR underwent extensive testing against rust from sweat and salt water. Turns out the LCR is virtually rust-proof. This is definitely a revolver that you want to consider for concealed carry. That's it for today's video on the Ruger LCR. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you found this video helpful, share it with your friends on social media. You can always find more from us on firearms cleaning, concealed carry practices, and more information on the full line of Urban Carry products by simply searching Urban Carry holsters. That's it for today. Until next time, keep calm and return fire.